It's interesting because when you're making a board, very similarly to, I guess, surfing, it's like there's days where you find that flow and it happens naturally and effortlessly and you feel like this magic.
Alright, we are back with another video breakdown. This was another really fun project to do, and I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but honestly I've been having tons of fun on these past few projects. So let's get into it. So this film was in collaboration with Forrest Minchinton and Monster Energy. Forrest is an amazing shaper and was making his second Java Monster Energy surfboard, and I thought we should make a little film about it. This was a very unique situation in general, and especially for me since I haven't really got into the surf scene overall, yet alone done a film about it. So I don't have too much experience, but the little I do know is that it's typically taken place near a beach, or at least somewhat close. But for this location, I found myself at Forrest's property in the middle of the desert in Johnson Valley. And this is where Forrest and his dad shape surfboards. And honestly, it feels like a little oasis in the middle of the desert. Lucky for me, Forrest wanted to try something new when it came to where he wanted to shape the board. I come to find out that surfboards are usually shaped in a shape room, and it's a nice controlled environment with specific lighting to see the curves of the board and make sure everything's symmetrical. So with trying something new, Forrest wanted to shape this board outside with natural light. Although I did end up getting some very quick shots of Forrest's dad in the shape room, but as you can see from these examples, the shots were nothing but close-ups. Where we ended up landing on was the chicken coop. This spot ended up working out perfectly. I loved the frame of the structure, and I loved how the light passed through the open windows, creating these amazing shadows. I definitely tried to explore this space as much as I could. Obviously, we shot all the shaping in this location, and I was bouncing all around during that time. But I ended up using the chicken coop for the interview as well. Although we didn't end up using the interview footage, I still really loved how the interview shots came out, especially with both the angles and the lighting. For the second shot, we didn't have to walk far, still being on the same property. We just found an open area to set up this sacrifice to the surf gods. The only thing that I was worried about was first getting the shot, because we only had one chance to light up the board at once, and secondly, making sure that the exposure was correct, lighting this up with the background as well. But overall, I think I ended up getting the shot. Now for the gear, I used the Fx6 paired with the DZO Arls Prime set. Fx6 is my go-to camera for shoots like this. It's so easy to use, especially with the internal ND. Now, I know I just raved about the Iron Glass Mark II set, but when I want more of a cleaner look, and I want more of a shallow depth of field, these lenses are amazing. There's a good reason why these lenses are so popular. They look incredible, especially when you open them wide up. Now, we had both the A and B set thanks to Armando, and that meant I had a lot of focal lengths to play around with. Now, I shot this before the announcement and the release of the Arl zoom lenses. Had this come out before the shoot, I definitely would have preferred using those lenses over the primes, only because I didn't have a first AC, and doing all these lens swaps not only was time consuming, but I also wanted to limit the amount of times I was doing the lens swaps. Because we were outside in the middle of the desert, all I needed was a gust of wind to come out and get the lens dirty, or even worse, get my sensor dirty. Having a zoom lens and being able to change focal lengths on the spot would have been amazing. The only drawback is that I wouldn't have been able to have shot wide open, and sometimes I love shooting wide open. Another reason why I love using the Arl so much, being able to open up that much and get creative with some of the shots. Another piece of gear that surprised me that I didn't expect on using so much was the Sackler slider that attaches to the top of the tripod. I was able to get some really nice and smooth shots with this slider. Now that I have a little bit more experience with it though, I definitely wouldn't put as much weight on it as I did. Next time I would throw a body like the Fx3 or the Fx6, only because there was times where I was getting these small little wobbles, but that just meant I had to be a little bit more careful with my own movements. Also, there's times where you don't want to bring a Dana dolly setup, especially when it's just two people on set, and not only does it take a long time to set up, but it's a lot of gear compared to just bringing a little slider. And to be honest, I wasn't really looking for these long dolly shots, so having these small little movements for inserts and even for establishing shots came out so good. For the second day, we got into familiar territory when it comes to surfing, and that was on the beach. At this point, the board was already done, and it was time for Forrest to do his thing. Something about shooting at the beach is just so relaxing, and filming surfers can be a really good gig, I imagine. One of the things I was worried about was being able to capture Forest at such a far distance. I already knew that my 70-200 lens wouldn't have made it, so I hit up a buddy of mine and I was lucky enough to borrow his 200-600 lens, and that worked out perfectly. It was a bit of getting used to tracking Forest while he was riding these waves, but at the end of the day, I had multiple attempts on getting these shots, and we ended up getting some really cool shots. Overall, like I said, I had a blast shooting this project. Big thanks to Armando for letting me use his lens setup, and a huge shout out to Nathan Young, who was the editor for this project and for the past 3 projects. The work itself has definitely leveled up since working with him, and it's been a blast to bounce ideas in pre-production and in post-production and just have this creative process with him. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what gear you would have brought, what lenses you would have used, what camera you would have used, how you would have done certain shots. I know there's 1,000 different ways to shoot a project, but I'm just curious on other people's setups, and honestly, it makes for good conversation. But until then, I'll see you guys on the next one.